I actually remember this very clear moment where I was in Ibiza and I was paying like £15 for like a vodka Diet Coke or some shit. And I thought, my mum is working 12-hour shifts as a nurse while I'm just spending money on this shit when I could be out there trying to help her and stop her from having to go through those brutal shifts where she's travelling on a tube to London every single day, you know, stuck in them trains that are always fucking getting cancelled. And I just got this really guilty feeling which I just couldn't enjoy my night anymore. Yes, people, I hope you are well. Happy Sunday if you're watching it on a Sunday. Today's video is a pretty cool one because I'm now around, I think it's about 2.5 years since I drank alcohol. And when I say no alcohol, like things like Christmas, I raise a brandy for my granddad who passed away, little things like that. So me raising a brandy for my granddad doesn't count. But yeah, apart from that, it's been no alcohol for 2.5 years. And to be honest, that's something that probably like 6 years ago, I would never ever think that I would say. At university, it was always the highlight of my week. It was always my biggest excitement. And same for most people in the UK, it's the thing that everyone lives for. And that's why I'm not going to be that guy who talks about you like you're a piece of shit if you do drink alcohol. I might drink again in a few years' time, I might drink again this year, I don't know. 18, 19 years old, if you told me you didn't drink, I'd probably think you're a bit of a weirdo. I think you're a boring fucker. And yeah, to be honest, like I would look down on you a little bit, which is crazy for me to say now, because I've had that opinion and I've not been someone who my whole life's been like anti-alcohol. I hope this makes me a little bit more relatable. Like I'll add a video of me. I've definitely lived that life where I've made some of the best memories of my life. But I'm going to talk over why potentially you giving up alcohol or reducing your alcohol intake could actually change your life. Something that's weird about giving up alcohol is you find you have a lot of time to be bored, which I truly do believe is a good thing. There's a lot of distraction taken away from your life. And when you've got these hangovers taken out of your life, you've got this instant gratification taken out of your life, you're left with this boredom, which is a blessing because you have to understand who you are and what it is you enjoy when you're not on this false high and all this fake dopamine, which is really weird because the first year of me not drinking alcohol, I was actually bored a lot, to be honest. There was so many situations where I was like, what do I actually do with this spare time? How do I allocate myself towards this spare time that I've got? And even socializing, it becomes very hard because that's how everyone socializes in the UK. You do feel lonely a lot. And it was that first year where I started to really discover myself and understand what I truly do enjoy, adapt to new hobbies, get into different things, and overall start to understand myself a lot more, which is a beautiful thing. When you deep the fact that not many people actually know what they like to do for fun if there's not drugs or alcohol involved, it's pretty fucking crazy, right? You're on this planet once and you don't get to discover yourself completely. And this was one of the biggest things that I'm so grateful for when it comes to giving up alcohol. You find when you are bored and when you do have that clarity of thought which comes from not drinking the alcohol, you start to understand you have this roadmap. And I believe that deep down, everyone understands that they've got this roadmap to follow where they know what their next step should be. They know what the story of their life should be. And alcohol erases that roadmap because, well, from a psychological perspective and a hormonal endorphin perspective, for 1 to 3 days after drinking alcohol, there is huge disruptions in your dopamine. Dopamine's your reward system, so you're not going to be motivated. You're going to feel a little bit shit, a little bit lazy and not want to do much. You know when people have a big hangover? So you can see, yeah, that's half the week really where you're not feeling yourself, you're not feeling up for getting after your goals. And when you deep, like half a week, depending on how much you drink, imagine the amount of time you spend each year where you're in a state where it's very hard for you to be motivated, it's very hard for you to want to actually accomplish anything. A big fear of mine has always been not reaching my true potential. If I think of me in a year's time, something that terrifies me is me not just taking myself to the maddest of levels, like giving my absolute all to change my family's lives, to change my loved ones' life. The thought of not reaching my potential terrifies me. And alcohol, this one is something that I'm actually not even going to say I'm going to listen to anyone's opinion. Alcohol does 100% pull you away from reaching your full potential. I don't care what anyone says. And the argument can be that life's not all about reaching your full potential, which I completely agree. You don't have to reach your full potential. Some people have it in them where they want to live more for like instant gratification and just live in a moment, which 100% you've got to enjoy these periods of life. But some people do want to see what they're capable of. And I think it definitely comes from your upbringing. That's what I've noticed a lot. If you come from a family where maybe you've seen some struggle and you've seen people worry about bills, you've seen people worry about the future, then you're more inclined to really want to change that. Whereas obviously if you're brought up from comfort, and again, not to offend anyone, this is just my views, but if you're brought up from comfort and you know you've always had that security, then naturally you might not have that grind in you as much as someone who struggled a little bit. And there's actually a statistic around this that shows people who are ultra successful come from extreme surroundings, whether it's being extremely poor or extremely rich, come from one or the other. If you do ever feel a bit envious of people around you who maybe had a bit of a better upbringing, would add a little bit more money and they didn't have to struggle like you did, you've taken away your blessing there. So yeah, use it as fuel, use it as that motivation to get after it. Chris Williams, and I don't know if it's his own theory or if it's one based off something, but he talks about the region beta paradox, where it's better for your life to be really shit than not too bad, not too good, because if it's all right, you're more than likely just going to stick with how things are, you know. It's enough to get by. Whereas if you're like, shit, I need to change something, that's when you're actually going to change your life. So yeah, that's where obviously that sort of mentality comes from, but that's me just gone off on an absolute tangent there. The point that I was making is alcohol absolutely does take away you from reaching your full potential. Next one, which is pretty similar to the last one, but I've got so many people in my life that I'm beyond grateful for, and I want to bring the best version of me to them and be able to change their lives. And I know full well that me, if I'm drinking every single week, is not going to do that. And I actually remember this very clear moment where I was in Ibiza and I was paying like £15 for like a vodka Diet Coke or some shit, and I thought, my mum is working 12-hour shifts as a nurse while I'm just spending money on this shit when I could be out there trying to help her and stop her from having to go through those brutal shifts where she's traveling on a tube to London every single day, you know, stuck in them trains that are always fucking getting cancelled. And I just got this really guilty feeling, which I just couldn't enjoy my night anymore. And I think if you ever get given a sign like that, it's such a fucking blessing, to the point where you know you've been gifted with a higher purpose, that something like that's not going to cut it. And don't get me wrong, I've made some incredible memories on those holidays. You've got to live your life, of course, but that was something where I was like, you know what, no party, no amount of alcohol or good time is going to be able to leave me with the fulfillment that I can feel that I need to get from providing for my family and helping them out and stop them from ever having to worry about bills again. Life's extremely simple. Every action's either going to make you better or worse, and it's not obviously the healthiest way to look at life, but that's the reality of it. And I know full well that me drinking is going to make me worse, you know. It's going to pull me away from my goals, it's going to take me away from what it is that I want from life. And maybe in a few years' time, when I do change some lives, which I'd love to do, when I've been able to have an incredible impact on thousands of lives, which would be the goal, to really be able to help people to live a better existence, just to show my gratitude towards them, maybe that is when I'll say, okay, let's have a cheeky little drink for that to celebrate. But yeah, I know full well with what I want to do for those around me, for everyone who supported me, and just the incredible people in my life, I know that me drinking is not going to contribute towards that. But I want to stop making this about me and make this about you. So have a little think of the last 2 years you've had. Are you happy with the progress that you've made? Do you have a clear roadmap for the life you live? Are you just chasing the Friday night highs? Do you know what it is that you want from life? Get really deep on these things, and then imagine how your life would look if you didn't drink. Would it be better? Would it be worse? You know, maybe you can say, look, mate, I've achieved everything I want from this life, so I'll enjoy my drink on a weekend. And if that is you, congrats, man, good on you. But yeah, maybe you think, fucking hell, you know what, I've got a beautiful family that they're struggling a little bit. Maybe I should be a better version of me for them, you know. Maybe when I do drink, I'm a bit of a moody bastard. Maybe I am a little bit of a rude fucker when I'm hungover, you know. When you get deep on these things, it can really help you with that decision making. I enjoy making these videos where I do go off on little tangents and I do have a little waffle, and you know, if you do go off on these tangents, you do normally drop a few gems in there. So I hope there's something that you have taken away from the video. And like I said, this video isn't to stop you from drinking alcohol, to make you feel guilty about drinking alcohol. But if you've got it in you to sort of chase something a little bit bigger, it could light a little fire inside of you. Maybe it's something you've been thinking subconsciously but hadn't really known how to portray what you've been feeling. Maybe this is the video for you. But you've got one life, so no one's got the right to tell you how to live. But deep down, you'll know what you should be doing.